I withdraw the motion and proceed.
Motion is withdrawn.
I ask the chair to lay before the body the message to accompany S764.
President,
Senator from
reserving the right to object. I have a parliamentary inquiry. Is one of the acts in this overall bill entitled the Defund Planned Parenthood Act of 2015?
Majority Leader.
I know that was a parliamentary.
Excuse me, I would like an answer to my question, please. Regular order. I asked the question.
The Defund Planned Parenthood Act is part of the House message to the Senate.
In other words, sir, the Defend Planned Parenthood Act of 2015 is part of the legislation we are voting on. Is that correct? Yes? No? Maybe?
Would the senator please restate his inquiry?
Yes. Is it possible that as part of the legislation that the senator from Kentucky has introduced, that there is a title in there called the Defund Planned Parenthood Act of 2015? Is that title in the legislation we're voting on?
The language in question is part of the House amendment.
Thank you very much. I asked that that language be withdrawn right now.
Mr. President, with the senator yield, I think I can clear up his concern.
No, I really won't yield. My request is that that language be withdrawn now with unanimous consent.
President, the parliamentary inquiry.
The Majority Leader has the floor.
I believe I have the
Parliamentary
floor.
inquiry, Mr. President.
Mr. President, if I may, I think we've explained this to everybody over and over again. Let me try again. The Roberts Amendment that I will offer is a complete substitute for the underlying language that concerns some of our colleagues on the other side.
Mr. President, parliamentary inquiry.
Senator will state his inquiry.
Parliamentary inquiry, notwithstanding what the Majority Leader said, the legislation he brought up would defund Planned Parenthood. Is that correct? If it was accepted.
That's not a judgment for the parliamentarian.
Parliamentary inquiry, would that be a position for the United States Senate if we were allowed to vote on it?
Parliamentary inquiry, Mr. President.
Can I answer my parliamentary inquiry?
I'm sorry.
Mr. President, parliamentary inquiry.
Majority Leader.
If I were to offer the Roberts Amendment that will be a complete substitute for the underlying language, would it not alleviate the concern that our colleagues on the other side have?
Yes. Tonight, the question
because it would strike the language.
do it tonight.
The question before the Senate would be the amendment offered by the Majority Leader.
Parliamentary inquiry.
And so further parliamentary inquiry, Mr. President.
The House can respond in whatever manner it chooses.
What does that mean?
Parliamentary inquiry, Mr. President.
Senator from Vermont.
Parliamentary inquiry, Mr. President. If the Majority Leader were to withdraw the House bill to defund Planned Parenthood and replace it with the
Can't do that.
Roberts GMO bill, would that, the acceptance of that, would that be a debatable motion before the Senate? Not asking how we should vote, but would that be a debatable motion?
He's got the he should repeat what he said.
You've got the floor.
Mr. President,
Majority Leader.
who has the floor?
Majority Leader has the floor.
All right. It's my understanding that I don't have the authority, right, to withdraw a House amendment. What I am doing here, if our friends and colleagues on the other side would let me, is to complete substitute for that, which is the Roberts amendment, which I think everybody understands the content of.
Mr. President,
Roberts' amendment would be the question before the Senate. The House would have to respond to the Senate substitute.
And, Mr. President, further parliamentary inquiry.
Sorry, go ahead.
Senator from Vermont.
If the Majority Leader were to withdraw the Planned Parenthood and put in the Roberts Amendment, which has not been previously debated, would a vote on acceptance of that be a debatable issue?
Majority Leader may not withdraw House language, can only propose an amendment to substitute or concur in that amendment. Those are debatable questions.
So that, further parliamentary inquiry, Mr. President, that if my friend the Majority Leader were to be able to do what he has proposed, would that matter then, the resolution of that matter then be a matter of debate before the body under the normal Senate rules?
Yes, the motion to concur is debatable.
I thank the presiding officer.
President, parliamentary inquiry.
Senator from California.
I just want to understand where we are because there's a lot of angst and discomfort. And I want to say to Senator Hirono, who happened to read what we're voting on, which I really appreciate, and called it to our attention. Is it the President's view, in answer to Senators Leahy and Senator Sanders, that the Senate has no ability to strike the title called the Defund Planned Parenthood Act of 2015 at this time, that we do not have the ability to do this? Could we not do it by unanimous consent, or would that not be allowed as well?
The Senate does not strike language.
The Senate does not strike language.
I'm sorry.
It proposes amendments.
So if I were to make a unanimous consent request, further
Which
parliamentary-
amendment could be a complete substitute, replacing that language?
even the title?
Title amendment is separate, but are you speaking of a title of?
The title amendment is separate, is a separate question.
So the title will remain. Is that correct? Even after the majority leader does what he says he's going to do. The title called Defund Planned Parenthood Act of 2015 would remain. Is that correct?
Short title is part of the amendment.
The short title is part of the amendment.
Mr. President, I would
That
ask.
would be
Sorry,
part of the
I
language.
still have the floor. I'm trying to get an answer. I didn't hear it.
The
Sorry.
chair is trying to answer.
Part of the amendment of the House.
The short title is part of the amendment to the House, which the majority leader's proposed amendment would replace.
So the title would no longer be in the bill. Is that correct?
Depends on the action of the House.
Depends on the action of the House.
Okay.
response to the
So the
Senate's replacement
House
bill.
is going to determine whether or not to remove this title This act may be cited as the Defund Planned Parenthood Act of 2015. I just say to my friends, I don't know why the Majority Leader chose to bring up this shell. He could have brought up any other shell. We should vote no on this.
Majority Leader.
Mr. President.
Regular order has been called for. Is there objection
Mr. President,
to laying down?
parliamentary inquiry. What is the title of the bill?
Clerk will read the title.
The clerk will read the title of the bill.
S764, entitled An Act to Reauthorize and Amend the National Sea Grant College Program Act and for other purposes.
Mr. President. Parliamentary inquiry. What is the title of the bill?
Clerk will read the title.
The clerk will read the title of the bill.
S764, entitled An Act to Reauthorize and Amend the National Sea Grant College Program Act and for other purposes.
Mr. President, we have many disputes around here over major issues, but I'm perplexed by where we are. What I'm trying to do is to offer a complete substitute. The Roberts Amendment, and I think everybody understands what that is. I must say, I don't think there's a single person in America that think any of our colleagues over here would vote to defund Planned Parenthood. We are not trying to trick anybody. We are not trying to trick anybody. We're trying to get to the Roberts Amendment, and I'm offering a complete substitute for a bill with a title that I don't thought sound particularly offensive from a Democratic point of view. I'm perplexed as to what the problem is here.
Would the majority leader yield for a question?
The majority leader has made a motion.
Mr. President,
Senator from New York.
would the majority leader yield for a question?
I'll be happy to yield the Senator from New York.
If you yield, would the majority leader, so once the majority leader strikes everything but the title about whatever it was, the words Planned Parenthood will not appear in the bill before us at all. Is that correct?
Fine.
Yeah, my understanding is it will not be in there at all.
Thank you, majority leader.
President, could I make a further?
Regular order,
inquiry?
Mr. President.
Mr. President,
Regular order.
The question is on.
parliamentary
Excuse me.
inquiry.
The question is on the laying down
I
of
object.
the message to accompany
Yeah.
S764.
Parliamentary inquiry, Mr. President.
Majority leader has the floor. Will the majority leader yield for parliamentary inquiry?
Mr. President.
President, would the parliament?
Regular order has been called for.
President, would the majority leader
The
yield?
question is on the motion.
That's the yeas and nays.
In that case,
Is there a sufficient second? There is a sufficient second. The clerk will call the roll. Are there any senators in the chamber wishing to vote or to change their vote? The ayes are 68, the nays are 29. The motion is agreed to.
Mr. President.
Clerk will report.
Resolved that the bill from the Senate S764, entitled An Act to Reauthorize and Amend the National Sea Grant College Program Act and for other purposes, do pass with an amendment.
Mr. President.
Majority Leader.
I withdraw the motion to refer to the Committee on Commerce.
The motion is withdrawn.
I withdraw the motion to concur in the House amendment to S764 with a further amendment number 3450.
The motion is withdrawn.
I move to concur in the House amendments to S764 with a Roberts substitute amendment that strikes and replaces the House amendment.
Clerk will report.
Senator from Kentucky moves to concur. Mr. McConnell moves to concur in the House amendment to S764 with an amendment numbered 4935.
I send a cloture motion to the desk on the motion to concur with the amendment.
Clerk will report.
Cloture motion. We, the undersigned senators, in accordance with the provisions of Rule 22 of the Standing Rules of the Senate, do hereby move to bring to a closed debate on the motion to concur in the House amendment with an amendment to S764, a bill to reauthorize and amend the National Sea Grant College Program Act and for other purposes, signed by 17 senators as follows.
I ask the names, reading of the names be dispensed with.
Without objection.
I ask for the yeas and nays on the motion to concur with the amendment.
Is there a sufficient second? There is. The yeas and nays are ordered.
I move to refer the House message on S764 to the Committee on Agriculture with instructions to report back forthwith with an amendment number.
Clerk will report the motion.
Senator from Kentucky, Senator from Kentucky, Mr. McConnell moves to refer the House message on 764 to the Committee on Agriculture, Nutrition, and Forestry with instructions to report back forthwith with amendment numbered 4937.
I ask for the yeas and nays on my motion.
Is there a sufficient second? There appears to be. The yeas and nays are ordered.
I have an amendment to the instructions.
Clerk will report.
Senator from Kentucky, Mr. McConnell, proposes an amendment numbered 4938 to the instructions of the motion to refer S764.
I ask the reading be dispensed with.
Without objection.
I ask for the yeas and nays on my amendment.
Is there a sufficient second? There appears to be. The yeas and nays are ordered.